Times X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Hour, episode 64 on a Friday morning. Again, another beautiful day. We just continue to have this great stretch of weather. Aaron, good morning to you. I know it was a late night for you. You guys were doing blinkers off last night. Got a chance to talk to the person in charge of the class action suit. Obviously, kind of, if you can, just tell us a little bit about that, and if people want to get a full detail of kind of what's going on with the Bob Baffert situation, how they could kind of get into it and things like that.
Yeah, we definitely had a very interesting conversation, a very good conversation with Dan Markoff, who is the lawyer who filed the class action lawsuit against Bob Baffert and against the ownership group there of Medina Spirit. So I went into it really not knowing what to expect. Not that I didn't take it seriously before, but it was just like, yeah, I don't really know what this is all about, what the main goal is. And what you learn from the interview is Dan is a big horse racing guy, and Dan bets a lot, and you kind of get a clear, indication of what their motivation is, which is they're pissed off that this keeps happening, and they want to try to clean the game up. And I think once you listen to that interview, you definitely get the feel of, A, these guys aren't messing around, and B, they do have some legal grounds here, and C, they're kind of like you and I, Ricky. They kind of are just pissed off. And I kind of viewed it beforehand of, some lawyers just tried to, approach these people and they're just trying to make some money. Don't really feel like that's the main goal here. I mean, it'd be great if they won and they got some money for the bets that they've lost, but kind of feel like the main goal is a little bit bigger, and I think it's something you can kind of get behind once you listen to the interview.
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up perfectly. You got the episode is out now, Blinkers Off, episode 499. So hopefully Aaron and Jared have something big planned for 500. I don't know if they've thought about it yet. Jared probably hasn't thought about it. But episode 500 will be next Thursday. So that's going to be Thursday. I'm looking May 27th. May 27th will be their 500th episode. Hopefully they have some big plans for that. But episode 499 is up and live and ready to go. The first, I would say, 50 minutes or so was kind of Aaron and Jared, and then the interview comes on with Dan Markoff. And I listened to it for a good amount. I didn't get a chance to listen to everything, but I completely agree with Aaron. Let's just say that's more money that they were wagering than I ever would have wagered in my entire life. So I'm not going to give that away. But there was a lot of good interaction on there. Real quick, just from my brief intake, and I'm not going to give anything away, I think it's going to be really, really tough to win. But I think a lot of people knew that going into it. They do have a big personality as the lead plaintiff. I'm not going to give that away. But I think they probably got the number one or number two person in the industry that's willing to kind of get involved from a wagering aspect. So if you guys want more details on that, tune in. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, all these types of stuff. Or if you just want to, racingdudes.com, I think it streams from there as well if you just want to play it in the background. I believe at about minute 50, if you didn't want to listen to the beginning, that's where the interview starts. But we encourage you to start from the beginning and throw it on in the background and tell us what you think. Aaron, it was a big day for us yesterday. We're going to recap towards the end of at the end of today's episode. For now, we'll just get right into it. There wasn't too much going on last night regarding sports, so we don't have to get too much into it. Obviously, hockey playoffs still going on. Maybe we can get some Blues talk in there tonight. They did not play last night. So we'll get right into it, though. We'll start with today's card. Nice field here. We'll start with race number 6. Aaron has gone now back-to-back days of playing a pick 4 ticket. So I'm not sure if it's the summer air, or I shouldn't say summer, the spring air that's gotten to him and making him change, or he just likes the way it's going to go. But Aaron, will start here. $50,000 claimers for 3-year-olds and upward, going 1 1/16 miles on the turf. There are a lot of also eligibles. The 1, Grump's Little Tots, is a main track only. That horse will not be running. The 5, Daneberry, another MTO, he will not be running as well. And there's one more scratch to announce, the 8, Forever Mo. That is the only horse that will not be running that was scheduled to run. So that being said, Aaron, kick us off here in the first race of the sequence.
Yeah, I went back to the pick 4 again today. We hit it yesterday, so it's like, okay, that's good. Got that cashed, and gonna just reinvest most of the profit from yesterday into today's pick 4 that I do think will pay a bit more. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I started off 4 deep here. 1, 2, 6, and 9. That's where I went. 1, 2, 6, and 9. And the 1A is the one I wanted to, of course, the 1 scratch. So the 1A is the one I wanted to use. Seismic Wave, I mean, this is a horse that, kind of had some hype when trained by Belmont back in the day. Had a couple of nice wins. Transferred to Chad 2 races ago, finished 5th in the Appleton at Gulfstream. That's a grade 3 race. Didn't run horribly. Same thing, came to Belmont, finished 8th, but was only beaten like 5 lengths, last time out. I don't know. I just think the drop is a lot here. It definitely getting that big class relief. So the 1A for me, certainly I think is a horse that's got a big shot to win. I also like both of the entries, the 2 and the 2B, Karoom and Battalion. I think either one of those also just must-use horses. Irad gets aboard Karoom, who, comes from the Maker Barn, but now goes to Safi Joseph. I mean, I think that's a pretty good, a lateral move, or maybe even a move up. I thought the 1 and the 2 were the basic horses to use out of here. I do have a couple long shots that I'll talk about a little later, but 1, 2 was where I went on top.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I do prefer Karam to Battalion. That's more so, I think there's just a little more tactical speed there, but obviously you're going to get the duo anyway. It doesn't really matter which one comes in. I was kind of concerned with Seismic Wave if we look at all the races he's been in, Social Paranoia, Some Like It Hot Brown, granted this was last summer, this is a pretty far way to fall, right? And coming out of stakes races, it's kind of like, why are we dropping him into this spot? Obviously, he's up for the tag. Now, it's possible that Chad Brown, Michael Dubb, and the crew just said, no one's going to pay $50,000 for this horse. Or maybe someone's just afraid to claim off Chad Brown. I don't have the answer to either of those questions. I actually had this horse 3rd, and I actually used one of the horses that was scratched out, Forever Mo, on top here, because I was just concerned. And now all of a sudden the 8's out, so I'm with you on Seismic Wave. We talked about Karam a little bit. The other horse I wanted to talk about was Vegas Kitten. Vegas Kitten ships from the West Coast. Did have 1 Belmont start, but that was a long time ago. But I think this horse kind of makes sense, right? That at this level out at Santa Anita, which is pretty similar. I would say the Belmont runners and New York runners are a little bit better, but all things, are pretty equal for the most part there. Hasn't run since January, so maybe that's a little bit of a concern. We're talking like a 4-month layoff, almost 4-month layoff here. But I think the tactical speed is going to be big for this horse on the outside, because Aaron, when you kind of take a look at it, you're going to have Grump's Little Tots that are out, but then you also have Daneberry, who is going to break from the 5, Forever Mo. This horse is all of a sudden drawn in that 7-8 post. It's going to be a big difference. So we know on the turf, if you can get the lead at New York, it's going to be really tough. I kind of saw this as a little chalky. I was considering using the 3 Mandate as well. I just couldn't get there. Getting claimed off Todd Pletcher, now going to Wayne Potts, taking a huge step up in class. This horse fits based on some of the, he kind of, I just think there's horses that are dropping at it much tougher. They're going to be better. Mandate would have to get better. Mandates wouldn't be good enough to stay at this level. So I kind of chalked out with the 1A, 2, 2B, and 9. So that's where I went, just those 3 horses.
Yeah, I thought Vegas Kitten, obviously, It just seems like a horse you should use. You don't want to get beat by that horse. Very consistent. So I agree with everything you said. I threw in a little bit of a weird one. I threw in the number 6, Vittori Kin, which is the other Potts entry, I guess you could say, in the race. Listen, 2 races back, I know it was under Michael Stidham, but 2 races back, this horse won pretty impressively at the 25K claiming level at Aqueduct. Okay, now we're moving up to 50, but it's the same distance. I don't know. I think these horses, once you get through the 1 and the 2, it's pretty similar. I mean, the rest of these, they don't stand out. Last time out at 58-1 against Allowance Company at Belmont, ran 6, but it was only beaten 2.5. And I thought, if that horse can compete or repeat that effort, 10-1, I'll take my chances. So I threw in the 6 here kind of as a flyer. I don't really blame you if you're like, no, that's crazy, and I'm going to go 3 deep. I think, Ricky, you used the 3 logical ones. But listen, I think the 6 can get up and have a shot here. I think he sits a pretty decent stalking trip. I'll give him a shot. I'll throw in the 6.
Yeah, this would be the game where if you get 10-1, that's a stupid bet. I'd be shocked if this horse went off at 10-1. I'm thinking more so 15, 20-1 in my book. For all the reasons you just mentioned, the best thing I could say about this horse is the one time he was bet since in this year, he did run well. If you kind of look at, and I think that's an important thing that we don't talk about enough as handicappers, not just us, just in general. If we're looking at some of the odds this year, he went off at 58-1, 5-2, almost 13-1, almost 47-1, almost 35-1. I mean, what is he supposed to do in those spots? Clearly, someone's not placing him properly, whether that's the connections or the trainer or the backside worker. I don't even know who it is. Doesn't really matter. Clearly, he didn't belong in those races. Now, the one race to look at is that 25K claimer where he did get claimed out for Wayne Potts. He didn't run horribly in his next start. I just kind of looked at other runners that came. It kind of looked like a merry-go-round race with Sanctuary City, who was able to win. It kind of felt to me like he just kind of hung 4 or 5 wide and didn't really do anything, and he was able to get 6 by 2.5. But I'm with you. I've seen worse horses, but because it's Wayne Potts, the 4 Mike Maker horse will take more money. Attentive, the 7, the Rudy Rodriguez trainee, he's going to take more money. They're just other connections that'll force this horse to go up. Aaron, this might be your longest shot on the board, and I don't know if this horse is that bad. It's just I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be mean. I just think if you take 10-1, it's a bad bet because I think you should get higher than that.
And for the purposes of what I've done today with the pick 4, I think you are going to get that higher than that because I think most everybody is going to go 1-2-9 or even 1-2 or even 2-9 if you don't believe in the 1. And I think that 6 if he wins is going to pay more than that 10-1 price. I mean, I get what you're saying. And I think the biggest difference between your ticket and mine today, I have a single, you don't. So if you don't have a single, it's hard to play this horse, right? Because you kind of got to go a little thinner. But if I thought, listen, if I'm going to go 4 deep, sure, you could throw Mandate in there. Sure, you could throw the 4 in there, a tentative. But let's try to get a big price. And I don't think this horse is that much worse. Actually, I think he's right there with the 3, with the 4, with the 7. So let's take the bigger price of the bunch.
No, I'm with you. If we're looking at runners that are coming out, first of all, the 3 and the 4 are identical. If we're talking about going off their last race, they were ahead of par.
Yep.
So if you think, not you, but if someone thinks they don't love the 3 or the 4, basically the 3 is like a 90. The 4 is like a 90.5 if we're going 1 to 100 or 80 and whatever you want to rate them. The 6 has the potential to maybe be a little bit better, and you're going to get a better price because it's Hector Diaz versus Luis Saez or Concel, and it's Wayne Potts versus other horse that's coming off of a Pletcher trainee or Mike Maker for the second time. So I'm with you. I'd be shocked, though, if this 6 isn't the longest shot on the board. I would, but I do think if if you think others are vulnerable, this horse makes sense. For me, though, I would pretty much have to hit the all button to get there. But I mean, that's okay. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think like he's an impossible long shot. But if don't take 10-1 now, wait, because I think the horse will go up in odds. But that's okay. Dennis says not about the 2B, but the 2 is an auto toss, was just claimed. We were excited. So he's talking real quick. Dennis is talking about the 2 battalion. So I don't think the 2 is an auto toss. That's kind of who I like. For me at this point, he's just a claiming runner. I mean, he hasn't run since June. He wasn't horrible in his final race for Mike Maker. Clearly something was wrong fitness-wise if he hasn't run in 11 and a half months. I don't know. I'm not doing the math, but that maybe is what he is, though, at this point. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's an auto toss. I kind of prefer him. On his best day, I think he's better than Battalion.
He's not an auto toss, Dennis, but okay, I 1,000% get what you mean. You claim a horse, it's 11 months, and now he's in for a tag that's less than what you claimed him for. So that is definitely a reason for skepticism. The trainer doesn't make him an auto toss. The jockey doesn't make him an auto toss. And I don't know, Safi in New York, I think if this horse was just garbage, Safi would have just left him down and at Gulfstream and let's just run him there. You've chose New York, you've chosen a tougher a spot for this horse for sure. I mean, Liz, Seismic Wave, he hasn't won in a long time, but this is a horse that's been running in stakes races, and he's in a claiming race. Like at Gulfstream, you wouldn't have gotten that if you keep him there. So while I totally understand, and you could absolutely be right, I looked at that and it's like that's a negative, but there are some other positives that not that you could get excited about because it's still a claiming race, but you can get behind him. So I kind of side with you on that one, Ricky.
Well, yeah, it's also like at the end of the day, we're horse players, but we got to kind of rely on these trainers to put them in the right spot. So for everything you just said, I'm with you. We are going for the sweep again today. That's what we're trying to do. So hopefully we can make that work. Let's move on to the next race here. This is a maiden special weight for fillies and mares, New York bred, going 1 mile here. This is where one of those I wish you went first, because I couldn't really find anyone in this field that I loved.
Yeah.
I put the 8 Highway Queen on top. I'll get through to one other horse that I thought was interesting. Everything about this filly tells me to play against her, right? Steve Caceres can't win anything at this point. He's 0-4, no in the money finishes. That's not good. Irad Ortiz takes the mount for Luis Cardenas. I don't usually love that. Not that Luis is bad, but I don't mind if it's like a Luis Saez, because it's like, all right, we might be getting a rider upgrade. This is kind of like, all right, on July 11th, I don't know what was going on last year. I guess there must have been a big race somewhere else, because Luis Cardenas wouldn't be aboard a 6-1 shot. So I don't know what the day was. That's usually a good indication that someone was gone. I don't know. This filly, who hasn't run since last July, just kind of seems like a horse that she's going to take a lot of money. I'm solely playing because of Irad, and I really don't like to do that. There is a first-time starter in here that I thought was a little interesting for Barclay Tagg, who I went away from. The horse that I'm interested, though, is the 3, Raffinity. Debuted last year against Irish Constitution, and if you look at that race, she was pretty bad. But look at some of the runners who were a part of it. Party of Pages went out to win next time out. Sambarella went to win on next time out. So maybe that race wasn't as bad for her. First time starter, 9-1. Then comes back over a sloppy track at the maiden claiming. Not horrible. I have a feeling that Rob Atras, who is one of the better trainers in the country that people don't know about, I have a feeling Rob kind of just put her in that spot, Aaron. It was kind of like, no one's really going to claim her out of this spot. Like, there are too many questions. And immediately she jumps into a maiden special weight. Rob's winning at 26%. You know who that's on par with? The top trainers here. And he is the best trainer in this race. It's really, in my book, it's not really even close. So that's kind of who I'm interested in. I went 3, 5, 8, but I really, really like the 3 Raffinity, and I would highly consider placing a win bet on her, knowing that Irad Ortiz in the 8 is going to take good money.
It's funny. The 3 is the first one I left off, and I probably that's going to come back to bite me. I'm a little worried about the 3. So if you're watching this, add the 3 to my ticket maybe. So I do agree with what you're saying, but who do you think out of the 8 horses, and you may know this, has the highest last out time form number?
Well, we do pay attention to time forms, but I don't have it in front of me.
Right. Well,
so if I had to take a guess, I would say the 2.
The 6 is the answer. The longest shot on the board from the morning line odds has the highest last out time form. Number 6, Sweet Franny Lou.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that. I wouldn't have been able to guess that.
No, and I wouldn't have either when I started handicapping this race. And and then so it's like, well, let me watch that race and let me just see like why that would have been. The horse was not close. Let's not, it was not a star performance, but she wasn't bad. And I thought, gosh, I think at 10-1, that's a horse you got to use. So I had the 6. And then I started, kind of analyzing the rest of the field. And it's like, these horses aren't very good. I put the 6 on top. So I have the 6 on top here. Definitely a horse I'm going to use. I just, it's like if these horses aren't any good and this horse ran a pretty solid figure, and then it's like, she actually ran the best figure out of anybody last time out. Sure, I'll use the 6. Why not? This race is horrible. I did use number 2, a bit of Irish sass as well. Last time out, that race was solid, and I think you run back to that kind of race, you're going to be right there. So I thought the 2 was kind of the logical one. I did use your 8 that you talked about. Also, I think the 5, and it's weird. Like Linda Rice, like a lot of them scratched yesterday, but some of them ran, and some of them have been running. Like they ran at Finger Lakes, and she's got horses in her through the weekend. I'll use Voice of Spring here. I think this horse fits. Last time out at this distance at Aqueduct, got second, only beaten a length and a quarter. I think the horse gets a good stalking type of trip. I think she sits just behind the 3 and the 8 and gets first run, gets Lascano aboard. I like it. So I liked the 5. So yeah, I went 4 deep here. We got some different ones. So we do have, the 8 the same, and the 5, I guess, but 2, 5, 6, and 8 is where I went here.
So the reason I couldn't put the 2 is because you'd probably catch me dead before I bet Richard Schlossberg. That's the reason, right? Because this horse isn't horrible, and he kind of seems like he's getting better. She's getting better. Excuse me. The other question mark is I have no idea what she's going to do going a mile. So I don't trust Richard Schlossberg to begin with. Lauban, I trust more for speed in New York. So I didn't mind the 6 furlong, and her odds kind of indicated she could run. I mean, you're going to catch me dead before I bet that horse. And if she takes money, great, because I have no idea why Raffinity is taking it would be 5-1, and the 2 a bit of Irish sass would be 9-2. I just don't get it. The 4 I thought was interesting, right? Every time I see a Saratoga stable Barkley tag, I'm thinking, oh, this is the second coming of Tiz the Law. I don't think this horse is going to be Tiz the Law. A, because she's a filly, and B, she's only debuting now as a 3-year-old, so that would be impossible. But no, seriously, I mean, $290,000 purchase for New York bred really, really jumps off the page, right? Because you don't usually see that type. I mean, that $290 is expensive, even if it's at the Keeneland sale or anything like that. I mean, that's a high price. So, I mean, you have some other ones in here like Voice of Spring, $450,000. Doesn't look like that one's really paying on the investment. So, those types of prices are you usually see an open maiden special weight, which is at Belmont. You would never run a horse like that at Aqueduct. But the 5 has run at Aqueduct twice. And the 4 is going to debut here at Saratoga at Belmont. So that's a horse I would keep an eye on. Let's just say I hope the 2 takes money. The 6 I thought was interesting. Again, I don't know why I'd ever be betting Mike Lovey, but I do prefer the 6 over the 2. And that's kind of it. We talked about all the horses. Let's move on to the next race number 8. This is to you, Aaron. Allowance for 3-year-olds and upward, knowing 6 furlongs on the turf. We do have a few scratches in here. Obviously, the 5, what do you think now, will not be running. Again, the weather is absolutely beautiful, so the 5 will be out. By the way, do not check Andy Serling. For some reason, he said he couldn't get the scratches out. I don't know. So you can check Nairo.com. I think they're probably up on Equibase as well. And then the 8, Shiraz, for Mike Maker, Louis Saez. That horse is out. So the 5 and 8 are out. So that being said, Aaron, where are we going here in race number 8?
Hold on. I have a typo in my thing. I just saw here. So
I can go first. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so he'll put that back up because Aaron's single was the one by George.
No, it's not.
So I kind of figured that wasn't going to be the case. Okay, so I'll go first. I see who his single is now. You guys can probably see it. So I'll let him talk about his single. So I'm going to take care of the other horses. I went with 4 deep in here, one of his singles. But let's talk about By George. This is an Into Mischief colt that's Triple Crown nominated. Clearly didn't work out. Won the debut, and maybe they thought they had something with this horse. Then runs in the Swale earlier this year and was pretty dreadful to Drain the Clock. Drain the Clock, actually, you know what? Drain the Clock actually turned out to be a pretty solid horse. Not Triple Crown level, probably more of a sprinter type, but nonetheless, or maybe a 1-turn mile at the most. But Drain the Clock turned out to be a good horse, and then he comes back in an allowance optional claiming race and was dreadful. Now 3-2 zone did come back in a stakes race. I don't know what that race was off the top of my head. The only reason I know that is because I wanted to use 3-2 zone. That horse was like 30 trillion to 1, and he ran like it. But nonetheless, now this horse tries the turf. Aaron, something tells me that Christophe Clement knows a turf horse when he sees one. Now, we're going to get to a Clement horse yesterday. I think it was yesterday that capped off the pick 4 sequence for me. That went off at like 14 to 1. And I just kept looking. My dad was watching. And I was like, I don't want to be the guy to ever leave Christophe Clement off the turf. And at 14 to 1, he put a $20 bet down on it. And he's like, yeah, I don't really get it either. And it paid off. So I'm going to use this horse because everyone seems to be fading it, and this just seems like the type of horse that Clement can get home. Let's go to the other one, Into the Sunrise, the 3 for Wesley Ward, Johnny Velasquez. This is more about him running in races that he shouldn't have been in, right? I mean, all the turf races that he's been in, he broke the maiden at Ellis Park, and he probably should have never been in anything after that. The Bourbon, the Breeders' Cup, Juvenile Turf Sprint, like the fact this horse, he beat 1 horse. That's pretty tough to do. So then he comes back in a William Walker. Wasn't horrible. I think this is exactly where he belongs. He did run against good horses, but this is probably his spot. And then the 4, Yes and Yes for Phil Gleaves. I guess you can make the same case. Why would I be betting Phil Gleaves when I'm not betting Richard Schosberg? But this kind of seems like the horse, Aaron, that when you look at the allowance runners, this doesn't look like the toughest allowance field. And if he could run that 50,000 claimer, which is like the highest claimers, I think at Belmont, I believe on the turf, the next step is this allowance race. And I just don't think at the end of the day that it's that difficult. If we take those 2 races out before, which were the allowance races in this spot, they were going longer. That was a mile and a 16 twice. If you kind of throw those out, this is kind of where he belongs at going 6 furlongs. So I'm willing to take a shot here. And Manny Franco did get the best out of him, I should say, next time out. But with that being said, I'm going to throw it to you now because you do have a single, and I do think he's going to be pretty tough to beat if he runs this race. And that's number 7, Ahead of Plan.
So I will definitely say in why I wrote the number 1 in there by accident is By George, the number 1 horse, is my second choice. So if you want to play a little bit higher of a ticket, that's the horse I would throw in. I'm 100% with you. I'm terrified of By George. But I kind of analyzed the sequence and thought, I don't know if a $64 play makes a ton of sense here. So I'm going to single the 7 and make it a $32 play. I look at this as a 2-horse race. I really, really do. I think it's between the 1 and the 7. The 1 we just don't know about, and that's what's scary. But what you said is so true. Christophe Clement, he kind of knows what he's doing. He's probably got this horse spotted pretty well. The rest of the horses that we kind of know about, I think the 7's just better. Like, I think it just comes down to that. And listen, I don't think the 7 is any kind of world beater. I just think he's better than everybody else that we kind of know about, right? I mean, you look at his races on the turf, 4 and 3 back, those races will win this one. You look even 2 back, those races will win this one. You have a layoff. I don't love that, but it's Chad Brown, so that's usually not a problem. This is interesting. Dennis says, I know you guys aren't Prime Power fans, but the 7 is picked last in Prime Power. I think that's interesting as well. I'm not a Prime Power guy, Dennis, but that's a little weird that the horse is last. To me, looks like a standout. So yeah, for those reasons, I think the 7 is squarely the one to beat. And I think it just comes down to how does the 2 run, or how does the 1, run on the turf. I think those are the 2 things to watch.
Yeah, if we could, the 7 ran on the dirt last time out. I have no idea what that was about. I really have no clue. And again, I don't know what Prime Power Factor, whatever the heck it's called. I don't know how they calculate, but maybe that if it's just going off the last race, that would make sense because he was horrible. Again, I have no idea what he was doing on the dirt. No idea. Like, it's one thing. Say, for example, he finished his campaign on November 19th, and then the first start was over the dirt in this year, like in April, just to get him back on the track. Okay, fine. That makes sense. But Chad Brown ended this horse last year on the dirt. I have no clue what that was about. Unless Klarovich isn't going to tell him what to do. They trust him with everything. So I don't understand what that was about. Granted, it says brush after the start too wide. Then he was whipped at the 3/8 pole. It's only a 6.5 furlong race. So that means he was running on his own without getting whipped like half the race. I mean, I don't know what that was about. The only reason I didn't single, or I wanted to go a little bit deeper. This horse was doing so well showing speed last summer, then into August. And then all of a sudden it kind of seems like he's backed off, and I just don't like the way he's trending. On class, he's supposed to win. Like, I don't doubt that. As opposed to yesterday's card, Aaron, when we looked at the first 2 races with After 5 and Always Carina or something like that, we kind of said this might be chalky. Today, I completely look at the other way, and I think the 7 is very, very vulnerable because I think the 3 and the 4 are good horses. Obviously, the 1 we just don't know, but you trust Clement. But I'm with you. If I had to single, I would go with the 7 because that dirt race is kind of stupid as far as I'm concerned. But even so, not having run since December 11th, that's always a question mark, right? The longer races, I don't mind because they can get their feet going and then they start to figure it out. These turf sprints, if you miss the break, if you don't break sharply, or ahead of plan doesn't show that speed that he was showing over the summer and into October, and he's kind of last, there are going to be horses here like the 3 and 4 that are going to be multiple lengths ahead of him early on. But I'm with you. The 7's supposed to win here. Let's move on. Oh, Nick says Manny Franco got on him. That's why. Maybe. But Manny was good 2 starts back. So, he had every shot to win in that race. He was second by a head. He was right there coming down the stretch. But if you don't like Manny, you don't like Manny. That's okay. Let's move on to the final race. This is claiming $35,000 for going 7 for 3-year-olds and up. We're going 7 furlongs on the turf. This I thought was a race that was really, really fun to talk about. I thought we can go a lot of ways here, so I'm kind of happy that I got. Well, actually, you know what? Let's switch it up. Aaron, I took your race, so I'll let you go here. The 3, let's go through the scratches real quick. The 3 rhythm section, Irad Ortiz, Mike Maker, he will stay on the bench today. And the 6, Dubai Bobby, Chad Summers, and Luis Rodriguez Castro hitting the bench, staying on the bench, I should say as well. Chad Summers was 0 for 7, so I don't think anyone was really going to use him. So with that being said, we're down to a field of 7. So Aaron, I'll let you start since I took your race.
I definitely think Magic would have used his boy Chad Summers. You know, it's funny how like we all have our boys, and you get to Magic, he's like, yeah, I love Chad Summers. It's like, oh man, that's
But the difference is, out of all the people you know, I have the least amount of boys. Like, I don't care. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
you have no boys.
well, that's what I'm saying. I would have no friends. I would be the guy where it's like, oh, this piece of crap again. I would remember when Chad Brown was struggling at Gulfstream, and everyone's like hating on Chad Brown. I was like, can you give the guy some time? Let him breathe. And all of a sudden, Mike goes, I love Rosario. If Joel were like, I would literally, if I saw Joel Rosario on the street, I would tell him he's the worst jockey I've ever seen. Like I would take anyone at Prairie Meadows over the way he rode at Rocky World. That was that was borderline disgusting. But nonetheless, Aaron, I'll let you go here. Right, I would have no boys. I would have no trainer friends. No, not male, female, older, younger, international, American. I'd have none because I'm ruthless. But Aaron, I'll let you go here. Race 9. You could start us off.
So I'm going to the Belmont for one reason and one reason only, right? We're going to take Ricky to the Belmont with us. He's going to be there with us. I'm going to get him pretty drunk. Like, I know he's underage, but we'll slip drinks.
I was going to drive, too. I was going to drive. I might have to find a way to get there without driving.
And what we're going to do, we're going to get him pretty drunk, and we're going to film him, you know, whether it's Rosario or a trainer that just cost him money, whatever, we're going to film him saying, hey, you're a piece of crap, and see how it goes. So that's
well, let's just say the last time, I don't want to get too crazy. The last time I was at Belmont, I tried to hop the rail. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Mind you, that was I was first year home. That was the American Pharaoh. Triple Crown. That was the last time I was there. I was not there for Justify. So hopefully I'm going to be a little bit more mature this time around. But yeah, we will be there. So you might have to film a little bit on the side without me knowing, so that we get a true indication of what I'm like. So
I think Ricky and then drunk Ricky, like Ricky P is what I'll call drunk Ricky. I think Ricky P is a totally different person. So I can't wait to see it. It's going to happen.
It's just a lot more cursing involved, but I'm still going to be ruthless. Like, there better not be a trainer that thinks they had a good, or a rider that thought he did well when I disagree. It could get a little ugly, but you know, it is what it is. That's part of horse racing. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get into this last leg. I'd rather talk about this, but I use number 7, Tenure on top. I just think this horse eventually is going to get back to those big races. And, you know, if he does, it's lights out for everybody else here. I think this horse, especially with the 3 out, I think the 7 really stands out, you know, on speed figures if he can kind of get back that level. So I thought the 7 was definitely a must use for that situation. The 8 turn of events, it to me, it's the class drop. It's huge. And Jose Ortiz stays aboard, you know, now running at the 35K level. There's a big difference to me between the starter levels and then when you drop down to 35K. And I think the class drop is just what this horse needs. I think he sets a pretty good stocking trip. And, you know, I should just outclass the majority of this field. So the 7 and the 8 were the first 2 that I used.
Yeah, one of the things I talk about it all the time. The biggest, when you just look at, like, obviously 35 claiming to like an allowance optional claiming is a massive jump. But if you just talk one level up or down, Aaron's right, from the claiming to starter. And the big difference is no matter where the starter next is, the intention is to keep that horse because they're all of a sudden protected, as opposed to whatever you could be claiming $100,000, which I don't think exists. It's maybe the highest is like 75. But that means you're willing to give that horse up. There's nothing you could do. If someone wants to put that horse up, you could take it. The starter allowance, you're guaranteed to be protected. You can't lose that horse unless there's a private sale. So I'm with you on the 7. I've been talking about this for a while. The first thing I mentioned when we first started doing the show, Aaron, I said Aqueduct runners or Belmont runners to Gulfstream. Now I'm saying, which I think is accurate, please follow Robert Falcone. Whatever he's putting out there, it's a small barn. It doesn't come up a lot, but his runners are fantastic. Robert Falcone is a New York guy, but he brought some to a Santa Anita and now they're coming back and they're running really, really well. Some of them struggled, like Tenure, but I guarantee you, I'm with Aaron. I think Tenure is going to run a massive race today. I highly considered putting Tenure on top. Only first start in the barn too. He had John Toscano and then Christophe Clement before that. I didn't stop there, though. I used 2 others, not far now, getting George Weaver for the first time for Rob Atras. Rob did a really nice job with this horse. First time out for Rob, gets an allowance win at the state bred level, and then 35,000 non-winners of 3 lifetime. Kind of tired out a little bit. Maybe the slop had something to do with that. I'm not entirely sure, but now we're going to get this horse on the turf for the first time. So I thought that was interesting. The speed, Aaron talks about it all the time. The speed really plays out once you get to the turf. And then the 8, Turn of Events. I wasn't sure what to do with this horse because he's going to cut back in distance. And usually what that means, the horses that close a little bit more are going to be a little bit closer. And I just have a feeling Jose Ortiz, who was aboard when he lost the Calibrator and Ocean's Map, started allowance 35K down at Gulfstream. This is a pretty big drop, dropping in for a 35 tag now. So that's kind of where I went here. Mike says, don't sleep on the 1. The 1 is Our Troubadour. I don't hate it. At least Mike's talking about a trainer that has won. Well, I don't have to talk about Richard Schosberg or something like that because I like doing that a lot. The case you would make for the 1, I'm not sure what your best case would be, and I'll try to make it because Mike's not on with us. The allowance races were brutal, but again, let's look at the odds. I mean, 37-1, no thanks. And he was wide throughout. The race before that, bumped, pinched. He kind of seems like he has a lot of issues breaking from the gate, or he finds his own problems. Maybe breaking from the rail, Aaron, isn't the worst thing for him. I do like horses that have trouble issues or gate issues that break to the inside because I think you eliminate, obviously, there's no horse to the inside. Yes, they're going to be back, but at least you kind of eliminate that. And then, at the 30,000 level last October, I mean, he won. So I've seen worse. What do you think of the 1, Our Troubadour?
I would be surprised if the horse wins. I'll say that. I think, hit the board, run late, and be like, oh, man, horse ran well, just couldn't quite get there. I think that's what I see when I see the 1. But, again, I'm with you. I don't think it's the worst use ever, for sure. You mentioned the 5, Ricky. If this horse takes to the turf, I think it's over. I really do. Because I think the 5 will get out in front, and I think he's the one they're all going to have to run down. And you look at the breeding, American Pharaoh out of a discreet cat mare, turf should probably be okay. So I think the 5 has a big time shot to take him gate to wire. So you use 5, 7, and 8. I also and I use 5, 7, 8, and 9. I threw in the 9. Does this not? And this is the only reason. And you're like, that is dumb. I can tell, but. Doesn't it feel like a horse that the bell curve jumps on and just wins? And you're like, how the hell did bell curve just win that race? To me, it feels like it. Like, why the hell is he on the horse, number 1? Like, there's no reason. And then you look at when him and Baker team up, well, they hit it at a big time rate, 31%. In the last year, 50% they hit the board. That means 50% of the time when he rides for this guy, the horse runs well. I think bell curve is when you throw in. Because I just feel like it has the feeling of, wow, Rosario just did that. Like I was home free with this 5 or this 7, and Rosario just came closing and beat him. I could see it happening.
All right. Well, looks like we have to contact your doctor and see what's going on. Dennis says, yeah, Falcone, Falcone at 44%. Yeah, I mean, it's small. It's 4 for 9, obviously, but he does have 2 in the money finishes as well, so that puts him up to 67% in the money. That's better than anyone else at the track. I know it's small. Mike's talking about the 1. Yeah, so this is what I was saying, right? For the 1, Our Troubadour, we haven't seen him at a spot where he can compete as a 4-year-old. Yep. Again, you could look at it either way. If that's the best case we haven't, like Mike's saying, or at a similar level in the final start of 2020, he won. in a similar spot. It's going to step up in class, but however you want to look at it, they're similar, right? I mean, we haven't seen them compete. All right. I don't know who Bell Curve is. I guess Mike knows who Bell Curve
Rosario.
is.
That's Rosario.
Why are we calling him Bell Curve?
Well, Samich called him Bell Curve. I don't really know what a Bell Curve is, but we call him that from now on.
I know what a Bell Curve is. I just don't know why we're calling Rosario Bell Curve.
Listen, the statement was Samich has not Samich. Rosario has a massive bell curve.
Okay. So I get it. Okay. So basically, it's like you ride the wave. It's kind of like a roller coaster. You're riding the wave to the top, and then when it gets to the top and like everyone's all on them, then then it falls off. That's the way I've always taken it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I get it. Okay, I didn't know why we were doing that.
What I think it means is he could be really bad or he could be really good.
So Mike says right. He could ride on either side of the curve in any race. Exactly. So we have no idea what we're going to get, but it'll be extreme. Yeah, he was really good on Rock Your World. I don't know what side of the curve he was on. He was on the drunk side. He might have been, I don't know what he was doing. I'm kind of with you, but Aaron, I have to go back to the number one thing that I learned as a youngster, which was like last week. You're only as good as the horse you're above, or the horse you're riding, or the horse the mount you have, however you want to word it. I hate to do this, but if you just look at the riders that he's had, Luis Castro, Rodriguez, Lescano, who I love, Romero Mirage, Eric Concel, yes, Junior Alvarado, but that was in 2019. This horse, the fact he's 6-1 is mesmerizing. It's a good word. I learned that a long time ago. I have no idea why this horse is. Tenure is 5-1. This horse is 6-1 morning line. I think David Aragona makes it the morning line odds at Belmont. David, you got this one wrong, pal. This horse stinks. This horse stinks. Even when he was just short of 9-1, he beat two horses. Granted, I was on the dirt. I don't know. I have no idea. Oh my gosh. Some of the best riding followed by some of the worst. Okay, so that goes along with the Mike Samich. Aaron, let's play a little game with Light the Posse. I say Light the Posse goes off at 12-1 or higher. So I'm just going to double the odds of the morning line odds.
I mean, that'd be great because I got the 6 in one of those other races. It's going to be a long shot. I got a long shot in that first race, and this horse wins. That'd be great. I think you're right. I think you're going to get way higher than 6-1. And I think, again, for the pick 4, it's going to pay more like 20-1.
So right, exactly. So Aaron's going to bring home like a $2,000 pick 4, or he's going to get one leg right. Well, that's not true. We have some of the same horses, so if it goes your way, you can bring home like a $2,000.
Right? Yeah.
Let's recap this before we kind of go over yesterday. I'll start first. We'll start in race number 6. We'll start with the 1A Seismic Wave. I'm kind of just interested to see how he runs, right? Because you're dropping in for a tag. That's kind of what I said before. Hopefully he's not horrible. Race 7, I went 3-5-8. I'm interested in Raffinity. Rob Actress is the best trainer in the race, and I think he's got one at 5-1. Race 8, 1-3-4-7. I'm kind of hoping Ahead of Plan isn't as good, trending the wrong way. And then race 9, 5-7-8. Aaron and I both are on Tenure. Those are the horses. That would be my win bet. If I had to make one, it would be Tenure. Aaron, I'll go to you here. You're playing a much smaller ticket than me, but what do you think starting race 6?
Yeah, race 6, 1, 2, 6, and 9. I'm just kind of interested to see how the 1 and 2 kind of run. They are the most logical horses there, but 6 and 9, I think the 6 at the price, I think worth a shot. So 1, 2, 6, and 9. Race 7, 2, 5, 6, 8. Race 8, that's the single of the 7. And then race 9, 5, 7, 8, and 9. Ricky will be crying when the bell curve is closing down that Belmont stretch, catching those speed horses with every stride and going right on by at the rail or at the wire.
This horse should start. So the 9th race, for if you guys is a 7 furlong race. I wouldn't bet the 9 if the horse would only have to run 6 furlongs. That's how much I think this horse sucks. And the fact that David Aragona really had the gonads to make this horse 6-1 is borderline embarrassing. Aaron, how can anyone be 6-1 when these are the last 6 races? Because that's what I focus in on, the group of 6. Granted, only 2 of them have been on the turf, but that's fine. 6 by 19.5 beat 1 horse. 10 by 25 beat 2 horses. 5th by 8 beat 1 horse. 6th by 5.5 beat 2 horses. 7th by 16 3/4 didn't beat a horse. 7th by 5 3/4. So in the last 6 races, I'm doing the math here. This horse has beaten 9 horses. In his last 6 races, one of the 6, he didn't beat anyone. How is this horse 6-1? Like, seriously, like, how could David Aragona look at a horse player, a handicapper in the face and say, yep, this horse belongs at 6-1? Seriously, I would have taken the Dubai Bobby horse before I would have taken this horse. Is there something is there something that I'm missing? Am I reading this race wrong?
You certainly are. You're missing the bell curve.
Well, if David Aragona had the gonad to look at me and say, well, Joel Rosario rides on a bell curve, I would probably knock him upside his head. That would be the worst excuse I've ever heard in my life. I'd rather him just say, I don't know what I'm doing, than saying that Rosario rides on the bell curve.
Yeah, look, here it is. Last 3 turf buyers over 70. Come on.
I forgot domestic spending was Ryan's cat and Brilliant Brooks. I forgot that they're about the same talent level. I forgot. I can't believe you know what's even more incriminating? The fact Joel Rosario looked at this horse in the PPs and said, "Yep, this looks like a horse I should ride." I mean, could you imagine, Joel? Could you seriously, like, you would? I don't know how riders decide. Like, I don't know if they just go off the agent, so they're like, all right, let me look at some of the replays. Like, maybe every jockey is different. I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate. But if Joel Rosario looked at the PPs before he got aboard this horse and said, yeah, this looks like a good option, boy, do I hate Joel Rosario even more now than I did after the Derby ride, because this is dreadful. This is absolutely dreadful. I mean, I'm trying to look. Like, he couldn't pick up, I guess, rhythm sections out. I would take the 2 Ninja Dust. I mean, I would take the 1 Hour Troubadour. I mean, this horse is horrible.
You really think this horse is going to finish last, is what you're saying? Like,
no, because Rosario's not bad enough to finish last. I say this horse, like, on average, I'd be shocked if this horse beats 2 horses. Rosario should see, and you know what the thing is, like, if a horse, for example, goes to the lead and gets tired, like, Rosario can get this horse to pass a couple. Yeah. I'd be shocked if this. So we're down to a field of 7. I'd be shocked if this horse finishes in the top 4. Literally, I actually would be. I'd come on here Wednesday and tell David Aragona. I'd give him a personal apology. I'll write one out and type one out, and everyone could read it if this horse finishes in the top 4. Considering he hasn't finished in the top 4 since what? Since I was 17. If he could do it here, then. And I'll be everyone's chiming in here. Last race, the favorite, so morning line odds would be adjusted.
That's right.
So to even make my point further, if David Aragona were to redo it, basically what would be saying this horse would be 9-2 ish morning line. That's even worse. Okay, perfect. Thanks. That's making my point. He still gets paid. Rosario or. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not saying he shouldn't ride. I'm saying he should have ridden any other horse. not he shouldn't ride. The thing, too, is Rosario hadn't rode any. Okay, so that is what I agree with most. That's the only reason why. But still, I mean, this horse is one of the worst horses I've ever seen. And Mark, bell curve bombers. Mike, if you put your thumbs up, I'll bring you on to talk about this 9 horse. If I can get your for 30 seconds. Okay, thumbs up. We are going to bring Mike Somich on. All right, here we go. All right, Mike, you're on. Please, how is this? Why is this horse 6-1?
Well, the horse is 6-1 because of the 3 turf efforts. I mean, that's the key. You're looking at all these different dirt efforts, and every single one of the dirt efforts suck, and you're totally right. But, I mean, the horses run at this level, ran a 71 buyer and finished 5th. for sixth. Yes, you're right. We're 8 horses in the race, so not that great. But if you go back to the 2 previous to that, ran a 72 buyer, ran a 77 buyer, winning on the turf. This horse won at an $88,000 non-winners and one allowance state bred at Saratoga going 5.5. That field is more difficult than this field. So if you just look at those 2 fields in general, that's how you get to this horse. Now, do I agree with you that I'm not using the horse? Yes. But do I disagree with you that the 6-1 morning line is crazy? No.
All right. So
you guys seriously don't know what a freaking bell curve is? I'm shocked by this. Like,
well, I know more mathematics. I've never heard of it. Horse racing once.
So a bell curve, right? You have if someone takes a test and you grade it on a curve, the curve is in the middle, right? So you got that bell curve, and the A's on one side and the F is on the other. Rosario is the bell curve because he's the A or the F. He's never that middle one. Like last Friday at Churchill, he had the best ride of the day and the worst ride of the day. So you're graded on this crazy curve with Rosario. You have no clue what you're going to get.
Well, that sounds about right. He's usually more on the F side than the A side in my book, but nonetheless, you're right. A to F. All right. So now I'm gonna push back on the 6-1. I'm happy you brought up that race from 2019. I was about 15 years old when I probably saw him at Saratoga. If I have to go back 21, 22 months to find a good race for him, then I'm willing to bet against. The other turf race, I guess the most recent one on October 8th, 6 by 5.5. He did beat 2 horses. I really like when the comments say no response. That's usually a horse I want to get involved with. And then the turf race before that, November 3rd of 2019. Dowse's Beach is a nice horse. So I will say that. Dowse's Beach is a good turf runner, but he beat 3. At least it says mild bid. Mild bid I can get on board with. No response.
None of those are with the bell curve. Who fits this horse well. He is actually going to be, this is a closer. It does fit this horse well. There's a decent amount of really bad speed in here, right? So this could set up for one of those, like, I'm with you. I'm not using the 9. But you know what really sucks? When you're watching Belmont and you have the leader and Rosario is chasing you down because you know he's going right by. And it's just a matter of time. I'm not saying this horse should be 2-1 in the favorite here. But 6-1 against a field that's not that great. I mean, I'm making a case for the 1 our Troubadour. Who's 12-1. So I don't think this field is that good. I think you get an upset here. I mean, Aaron's like, well, if the 5 takes the turf, he's going to air it. Yeah, well, the 5 hasn't taken to the turf yet, right? Yep. And if the 7 shows up, he's going to air. Well, the 7 has to show up to do that. And so you can make cases against every horse that's a favorite, and that's why I think 6-1 isn't a crazy price here. No,
that's fair. But, I mean, tenure, we kind of at least know what tenure is. We know what the 9 is. With the 9, it says 2 + 2. Yeah, I mean, again,
let's make this interesting, Ricky. Who can give me a set of horses I can pick against the 9, and I can pick any horse, and you get that horse, I get the 9 for head-to-head bet.
Ooh, I love it. I
wasn't prepared.
I'm just going to sit back and drink my coffee.
I should take the 1 just to be annoying.
Well, I wouldn't take the bet then because I like the 1.
Well, it's just head-to-head?
Yeah, you said you like Ninja Dust more. I'll give you the 2.
No, that wouldn't be the horse that I would take. Because I can come up with one that I think is better.
Let's do the 2, the 4. Who did I use?
Yeah, give me a set of horses that I could take. So obviously not the 1. So give me a set of horses that you'd be willing to give me, and I'll pick one of them. 2, 4, 6. Well, 6 is out. The 6 is out. So
see, I have 9 is my 5th pick here. So it would leave you the 2 or the 4 is the only horse I think are worse than the 9.
Well, I can't do that then because I can't do that because
then you agree with me that this horse should run right around that 4th, 5th range.
Okay, so like I said, he'll probably finish around 5th, and the 2 he'll probably beat the 2 and 4. You're right. Okay, fine. But still, that doesn't give me 6-1. Granted, the 3 is out. That's fair. But even so, if we're doing the morning line odds thing, this horse would be what? Between 4-1 and 9-2 if we were to redo the morning line odds?
Okay, so who are you making the even money favorite then? Like, because you're not properly distributing these odds. You're gonna have to have 2 horses sub 2-1 if he's more than 4-1.
I think the 5 is gonna take. I'd be shocked if the 5 doesn't go off at around 8-5, 9-5 now.
Yeah, right. But then the 7 would have to go off that same price if the 9 would be anything over 4-1.
Yeah, I think he will also. If anyone has a brain and is looking at Robert Falcone's numbers, that horse would be sub 2-1. Because everything Falcone's putting on Falcone's putting literally winners and 6 of 9 in the money.
Aaron,
so yeah, I think both those horses. sub.
You need to give Ricky like the stats for how to make a morning line.
Yes.
And then have him make morning lines for one card, just for 4 races on the Rocket Hour next week. Let's see how that turns out.
Yeah, I can do that.
Very difficult.
I wouldn't.
All right, I got to bounce, guys.
I wouldn't do that.
That was a good 30 seconds. I'll catch you later.
So I'm going to say that the 9 finishes. How many horses do you think the 9 beats?
I think the 9. How many horses are left in this race? 7.
I say he beats 2.
I think he'll beat 6.
Well, yeah, you're putting him in the winner's circle.
Hey, listen, if he doesn't finish top 4, I will be surprised. I will say that.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to. Well, yeah, I mean, I could see it because the 3 is out. Because I think what you're saying is the 5, 7, 8 is probably the horses that are going to be ahead of him because you don't really like the 1 all that much. So, I mean, that's not impossible. That's going to do it for us here. We're going to recap real quick because I wanted to do that yesterday. We'll just go through them, Aaron. I'll let you start with the 2 big favorites. The one after 5 took a while, but then Johnny V kind of got after him, and then that was it. After 5, finally gets the job done.
Yeah, it was a workmanlike effort. It got a little scary for me. I didn't have the 7, you did, so you're probably rooting for the 7 to get home there. And honestly, I would have been too if I was you. But yeah, it got a little scary if you didn't have that 7. But it just kind of felt like the 1 was going to get there the whole time. It's just like eventually you're going to do it, right? So I don't really want this horse back against winners. It wasn't a situation where it's like, oh yeah, showed his stuff there. Not really, but a good race for what this was.
Yeah, I was praying the 7 got home because all of a sudden I'm knocking off a 1 to 2, and my pick 4 for $3 is well over $1,000 now, like well over, because a lot of people probably singled. I knew the 7 would run well. I just couldn't get to the winner's circle, and I want nothing to do with after 5. This horse should have won by 4 or 5, and this horse won by 3/4 and labored. I want nothing to do with that horse. And that horse will take money moving forward. Yep. Let's talk about my horse, Aaron, the horse that's going to run against Malathot. I said it yesterday. Always Karina. Wins by almost 10 lengths, almost 1 to 2, goes off at 2 to 5. Absolutely romps this field. After the stumble at the start, which wasn't real. I don't know if stumble at the start was accurate, but nonetheless, she draws off. And I don't know if the coaching club American Oaks is in her future, but she'll run against Malathot this summer. I'm going to stick to it.
This was awesome. This was just an awesome performance. Yeah, stumble at the start, and she recovered so quick that you're like, did she really stumble? And then you look at it again. It's like, yeah, she did. Yeah, just go to the front, run them into submission, never really ask for much. I like her. I'm with you. I think Always Karina definitely going to a stakes next time out. I don't know if it'll be against Malathot right off the bat, but you got to think this horse has got the big one circled. And listen, she's better than anything we've seen outside of Malathot and search results. I definitely believe that. So that was a very exciting race.
She's clearly the 3rd best filly in New York.
Already.
That's not even close. Aaron, I'd kind of be willing to say if she were to run against Malathot, if Travel Column and Sinclair, she'd be pretty competitive and potentially win, because I'm not sure those 2 that I just mentioned are coming here to win by 9 1/4. Just keep in the back of your mind. The Rocket Man told you Always Karina is going to run against Malathot and potentially win come the summer. Hopefully the summer. Hopefully Chad Brown doesn't sit on her waiting for the perfect spot. Let's move on to the 8th race. This is where things got interesting. Aaron, you had the 6 Quirky, who ran a pretty solid race. I had the 4 Battle Station. We also used Shecky Shabazz, but we knew I'm shocked kind of Shecky didn't go off as the favorite. Ghoul was. If we knew that ahead of time, we would have played against Ghoul because we didn't love that horse that much. This is the way horse racing is supposed to go, where you have your horses, moderate prices. And I said yesterday, if you get a better price like Battle Station or Quirky, play over Ghoul, and that's what worked out here.
Yeah, it was good to get this, after those 2 heavy favorites, you needed prices, and you got a little bit of one here. Of course, we'll get a bigger one we'll talk about later in the next race. But yeah, this was, you never really sweat. We had the 4, we had the 6, we had the 8, we had the try there too. So that was good. But yeah, you just never really sweat that one out. It looked like for the longest time, Shecky Shabazz was going to take this field gate to wire. Battle Station was impressive. A pretty nice kick coming for home. it's another race. I don't know that you want to see these horses in higher levels, but at this level, they're pretty solid horses.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. I thought Battle Station ran a good race, but I easily think Corky or Shecky could beat him next time out. And that's who this is kind of where they belong, and I wouldn't mind seeing a repeat of this race down the road. Aaron, let's move on to the final race of the day. Community Adjusted gets the job done here. It took a while. Christophe Clement able to win. I liked a lot of the horses. I thought taking Coalition Building at 8-5 was one of the stupidest bets of the meet. Community Adjusted, though, Aaron, 14-1. If anyone ever gets 14-1 on Christophe Clement on the turf again, please bet. I don't care if that horse looks like garbage. Please do it, because there's going to be value. And in theory, Aaron, I'm not the biggest math whiz in the world. I know how to handicap horses. You need to get this horse home once out of 14 times to break even. And that's what 14-1 means. I'm pretty sure you get a horse like this home once out of 14 times. Mind you, when you know all the other horses have flaws.
Yeah, this was just like a cruising effort too. This was not a horse that was all out trying to get there. I mean, pretty much an easy win. One of the easier ones you're going to find for a 14-1 horse. So winning by a length and 3/4, really good race. I thought it was interesting. 4 horses were coming out of that race that we talked about on April 22nd on the Rocket Hour, and they ran 1, 3, 4, 5. So that was a pretty good race. And then they came back and they showed it here. And you're probably going to see the ones that lost right back in this kind of spot again the next time it comes up. You're right. Way too short on Coalition Building. We knew that those horses coming out of that race were pretty evenly matched. So it was just a situation of let's get them home here. And we got the bigger price home, and we needed it because of those, early favorites winning. So yeah, I thought Community Adjusted, very, very good race here.
Yeah. One of the things that we talk about, right, in horse racing, and I think as handicappers and horse players and things like that, if you have horses that are all, and I would put these in the 70s, between like 76 and 79, why would I take a horse that's 8-5 versus 14-1? Or even Black Sand, who's almost 6-1, fine. Or Lysine, who you like, or Spatial, who you like. Spatial actually held the lead for the first half of the race. It's one of those things where if I knew Coalition Building was going to be the favorite, I would have just completely wiped him out. Like, I wouldn't even have used him. Same thing with Community Adjusted. If Community Adjusted was the favorite, I wouldn't have used him either. You have to understand that there's just because IRAD's a board doesn't mean that he's the horse to beat. You like Spatial. I thought Spatial ran pretty well, 13.5-1. Did well there. But one of the things I want to point out, if you guys take a look at the winner section, it says Bay Philly by Summerfront. Okay, that's turf. Dynaformer, that's distance and turf. And then you have Christophe Clement. I don't really care who the horse is. Just those factors alone shouldn't make that horse 14-1. Yep. Unless this horse just isn't beating anyone. But this horse had shown some talent. And granted, did get the perfect trip, like dream trip. If this horse isn't in a claiming race, my guess, starter allowance. That's my next guess for this horse. Won't be an allowance, won't be in a claimer. And that's what I say for this horse. Congratulations to people who hit it. I had a few people reach out to me yesterday. That's the 3rd Thursday in a row that we've been able to hit. I don't know what goes on Friday through Sundays, but Thursday seems to be the day to play. So yeah, if the $3 pick 4 that we gave out yesterday brought over $400 something. Not the biggest one of all time, but Aaron, I said yesterday, right, with After 5 and Always Carina, this was a day where you could play like a $10 one or a $5 one, or in what I put online for $3 one for 48, and it paid off yesterday. So congratulations to everyone who paid. If you only played it for 50 cents, I think you made a little bit, not a lot, maybe doubled your money, but that's still okay. You get 2-1 odds. Aaron, anything else you want to add before we wrap up for the weekend?
Well, I think we're good. I'm excited. It's kind of a slower weekend for racing, but sometimes those are the best because you can just kind of relax, play the races, and have a good time with it, without that pressure of, it's a big weekend. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be fun. Some good racing all weekend long at Belmont. I think that's the place to play. Gulfstream, those cards don't look too bad either. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, Gulfstream has a few overnight handicaps, I believe, on Saturday. Basically, overnight handicaps. They have some medication restrictions, and they don't have to be in the barn a certain days before and things like that. Mostly Gulfstream runners or Florida runners. So they have that. And then a big card at Santa Anita, I believe, as well. I won't be covering that. I'm going to try to put something out there, but we'll see. Santa Anita has a Santa Maria, the Honeymoon. So they have 2 graded stakes races as well. The Santa Maria it'll be headlined by As Time Goes By, who beat this tee. There's only a 4-horse field. I wish Magic was on to dispute that. And then the Honeymoon, grade 3, Madone and Going Global will do battle.
Yeah.
Madone beat a horse named Golden. These horses have run against each other for a decent amount of now. This is like that non-graded, lower graded stakes level. So tune into that. All your action could be found on racingdudes.com. I believe the Magic Mike group did Belmont, I believe, for Saturday. They have some stakes races there. And then you could check out racingdudes.com as well for Blinkers Off if you want to hear that interview. That's episode 499. So next week, episode 500, I guess Aaron and Jared should do something a little special. I don't know what they have planned. They don't have to tell me. But we will be at the Belmont 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So 15 days. We will not be there on Friday. Well, at least I won't be. I shouldn't speak for everyone. I won't be there on Friday. We'll
be there Friday.
Aaron will be there Friday. I won't be there on Friday. I'll be there Saturday. So that's a lot of fun. Haven't been to one since that was, I think, 2015 was American Pharoah. Justify, I think, was 18. So I haven't been there in 6 years, 7 years. I don't know, something like that. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to stop here. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday. We'll recap some stakes races, things going on in the industry. And then we'll get back to it at Belmont on Thursday. And we'll probably be at Belmont every week from here on out till Belmont. And hopefully next week we have more news as to who's going to be running and if things official. If you guys want information on that, also check out racingdudes.com. I think they have all the probables out, and it pretty much seems like it's going to be a set field from what's available. Brooklyn Strong going to be in it. I think Midnight Bourbon going to be in it. So you guys can check that out as well. Maybe Prime Factor. No, I'm kidding. Prime Factor won't be running in it. No. But that's going to do it for us today. Good luck today if you're playing or playing this weekend. Let us know who you like, who you don't like. And that number 9 in the final race, we'll see what he does. Hopefully, for my sake, he's horrible. Hopefully, for Aaron's sake, he runs everyone off the page. So we'll see. Again, let us know who you like, who you don't like on today's card or any card over the weekend. We'll be more than happy to interact with you guys. Good luck. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday. That's going to be, what is that, the 26th? Something like that. I think it's, the 26th. We'll at 11 a.m. Everyone stay safe, and we'll see you then next Wednesday, May 26th.